Okay, let us go over the functionality and use of the DIGIBEE unit. Right now I have a CyberSync CSXCV transceiver plugged in, so I have full control remotely using a cyber commander over the power output and the modeling light illumination. This is the cyber commander. Well, plugged into the DIGIBEE. These are the same units. This is the receiver unit for both channel and frequency as used by the Buff Einstein unit, and this is the cyber commander, which has a hot shoe mount or could be worn around the neck. Now right now I'm using the DB400, which is a 2.5 watt second, 260 watt second, but the same identical function is applicable to the DB800, which is a 5 watt second to 320 watt second unit. Now let's go over the functionality of this unit very simply. Obviously the on-off switch, I don't think I need to explain that. Now the slave function over here, what this does is it turns on or off the frosted slave dome up here by pressing the button. Now how this unit is triggered is via a pop-up flash or any other speed light that you have. You can use this unit completely wirelessly without having to purchase any expensive triggers or even the CyberSync unit. If you wanted to use this as a primary key light and use your pop-up flash or like a commander mode, which sends out light from your camera, but not enough light to affect your composition, but yet still enough light to actually trigger the unit. This unit does, the slave button does need to be turned off to return to regular wireless functioning. Now the test button, I think, is self-explanatory. It will give you a test. Now the ready light will return from green to red. There is a brief period of red depending on the power output, indicating that it is not yet fully recycled. Okay. Now let's go on to recycle. We have a few different options here on recycle. What these are audible and visual indicators. Okay. Now let me turn up the power so you're actually able to see this a lot better. Okay. Let's go over the recycle button right here. The options that we have. Here we have, it looks like a music note on one side, and the other side a visual recycle mode LED. So we've got these two. You'll notice the actual LED illumination and dimming for a bit. Right now there is an audible beep and a visual indicator. You heard the audible beep. The visual indicator is when the modeling illumination fully returns to full brightness. So you have an audible and a visual recycle indicator, but those can be cycled by pressing them down and cycling through that. Now they're completely off. Okay? Now there is no audible tone nor any visual indicator for that. I can turn on audible only, in which case the audible tone will be eliminated, or I could turn on only the visual, or I could turn on again both. Okay? Now let's go on to the modeling button. But first, actually, let's go to the adjustment button. The adjustment button lets you adjust the flash output or the modeling output, but depends on how you actually have the modeling output button set for where it is going to adjust. It can either adjust relative to the flash output, or you can adjust the modeling output independent of the flash power output. Okay? Let's actually go over that. We have 4 different indicators here. We have the model on LED right here. We have the model adjustment LED on the right side. We have the model tracking mode, looks like a lightning bolt right here, and what that does, it means that the modeling light will give you WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get tracking. In other words, as I raise the power, let me show you an indication of that. As I raise the flash output power, the modeling illumination will raise also. Right now I'm going in 1/10 of a step down, so I'm going down in flash power, but I'm also going down in the relative modeling illumination, which is tracking the flash output power as well. Let me take it all the way down here. Okay. Now the Buff DIGIBEE, you have a 7-stop range from full power to 1/64th power as measured in f-stops right here, adjustable in 1/10 of a step. But let's finish going over the modeling button. Okay, the modeling illumination button. Right now, with the lightning bolt on, illuminated, it is tracking the power output relative to the flash power. Okay, I'm adjusting it remotely via my Cyber Commander right here. Let me turn up the power. Okay, you see it's tracking. Now if I want to get out of that, it lets me adjust the modeling illumination independent of the flash output power. Okay, now I'm on full power, 0.0 f-stop, that means full power. I can turn it off now. You see only this indicator is on. I'm back to tracking again with the lightning bolt, so I'm cycling through adjustment. This is my adjustment, my model independent mode LED, which means I can adjust the output independent of the flash output power. Full power, completely off, tracking, adjustment. So I'm able to scroll through those different functions simply by continuing to press the modeling illumination button. Okay. Now, if for example I only wanted to, or you only wanted to use a modeling illumination, indoors or outdoors, or use it for video illumination, you can turn the flash tube completely off by holding down the flash button for 2 seconds, and now only the modeling illumination is being used. To turn it back on, if you try to test it or fire it, it will actually say flash off. Turn it back on, I simply hold down the flash button again for 2 seconds. Simplicity is divinity with this unit. Now the frequency and channel buttons, you would need to adjust. Right now I am on frequency number 1. Depending on which transmitter you have with my Cyber Commander, I'm able to adjust my frequency right here, and channel over here, which would mean I'd be using multiple strobe units. So I'm able to adjust the channel for a different strobe if I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Up to 16 different strobes can be controlled with the Cyber Commander. I highly recommend actually purchasing the Cyber Commander, which communicates with the CyberSync CS-XCV transceiver right up here, which plugs in. This is a $39 module up here, as I recall, and this is the Cyber Commander. This is the advanced unit for the Pulse Buff Einstein, but this is also the unit for the DIGIBEE. Just because this is a small unit doesn't mean it's either professional or flimsy. It is just as durable, just as reliable as any of the other Pulse Buff units, including the Einstein. While this does only have 160 watt-seconds of output, and the DB800 has 320 watt-seconds of output, it still takes the exact same capabilities as far as your soft boxes, your studio reflectors. Right now I have an 8.5 inch reflector in here. Take long throw reflectors, beauty dishes, everything. Now I've already explained to you what the slave mode is. I've explained to you what frequency and channel is. Test is obvious. I've shown you how to cycle through the model and the flash, and the adjustment buttons are obviously for if you just have a dumb trigger, like you say, you could put a Pulse Buff, a Pocket Wizard unit hanging off of this unit or around your light stand. You'd have to manually adjust the modeling illumination and flash illumination right here. The Pocket Wizard would only trigger the unit, but you would actually have to adjust it right here at the studio strobe. So that's the functionality of the unit. If you have any specific questions, also right here on top, let me actually tilt the unit up so you can see it better. There we go. And let's put some illumination on the scene here. There we go. Here's our slave dome, which receives flash illumination. This is the slot for an umbrella rod right here, and the lockdown screw. And this is the receptor module. It does not come with the CyberSync unit. It just simply plugs in. This is the receptacle unit for the CyberSync receiver. Okay. And like I said, simplicity is divinity, and this is as simple as it gets. You know, an iPad only has one button on it, and yet it can do a lot of different functions. Same with your iPhone, and the DIGIBEE is kind of that way. I mean, explaining the slave button, the frequency button, the channel button, the test button is pretty self-obvious. The rest of these flash, model, and recycle and adjustment, The on-off button, of course, does not require any explanation at all. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Everything else now is you dialing it in to where you need, you using the reflector that you need, you doing whatever it is that you need to get the composition that you need. And like I said, just because it's small doesn't mean it's not powerful or durable. The front faceplate, as I explained to you in the other video, let me turn it around some here. And you never want to touch this when operating it. The faceplate is metal and it can get hot after use. But the front faceplate and the fingers that actually hold on softboxes, reflectors, and octaboxes is just as powerful as the other alien bees and just as powerful as the Pulse Buff Einstein unit. So there's no concern about this, well, it's small, it's flimsy. No, 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 no. That's not the case here at all. There's no concern of that. Very small, very portable. Let me power off the unit and actually show you something additionally. This is how it attaches. Detaches a reflector or a softbox. These two fingers up here, press them in. Let me drop my thing there. There we go. And that's it. When this is hot, let it cool down. Okay, don't touch that, because it could be pretty hot. And this is the protective cover. Never store this away for travel without protecting your xenon flash tube here. And make sure you don't touch your xenon flash tube. Make sure if you do that you completely unplug the unit and you wipe that fingerprint, that oiled fingerprint off, because all fingerprints have a little bit of oil in them, of course. And so that is it. It is certainly no... Do you know, I have a lot of Nikon speed lights. I don't know if you've owned or do own a Nikon SB800 or SB900 speed light, but anybody that's intimidated by the studio strobe, I have to say to you, what are you talking about? The SB800 and SB910 speed lights, you've been using them for years, are incredibly complicated. They are like a computer. This is incredibly simple. A lot of people have in their mind, well, a professional studio strobe has got to be tougher to use than like a Nikon speedlight. And oh my goodness, exactly the opposite is the case. I mean, exactly the opposite is the case. This is easily 1/40th as complicated, 1/40th less complicated than even an SB800 Nikon speedlight. You know, the menus and the different, oh my goodness, no, very simple, yet very professional. This is it's all about the lighting. It's not that next lens. You should, really must and should have a professional studio strobe, because the color saturation and what you get, it just makes the world, there's not a single professional photographer on earth. Some people actually are only ambient illumination shooters. That's fine, but there's still not a single professional photographer on earth that's going to tell you that if you want to step it up 100 notches on your photography, there is nothing that will make it happen faster, sooner, better, and make you scream with glee than owning a studio strobe. And there are 100 books out there about using a single studio strobe, the millions of ways you could use it. You could use it as a primary illumination, use part of that light to reflect it back for fill. Anyway, this is the Pulse Buff DIGIBEE. The exact same operations apply whether it's a DB400 or DB800, and thank you for watching, okay? And check out the links below for purchasing the DIGIBEE. And honestly, I think everybody should have one of these little suckers because it is indispensably useful. Indispensably useful. So many ways, and so simple. I mean, it's very simple. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.